Live, dog.
Oh, man. Well, welcome back to the Raised Rowdy Podcast, the first ever video podcast that we've done.
Number one.
Courtesy of Sam Grow.
Uno.
Dude, good to see you, man.
We got some drinks.
Oh, yeah. Got some good whiskey
What
here.
are you sipping right now?
That Dickel that you
That's
have
the good
there.
stuff. That's the 15 years Dickel.
I haven't
Cheers to
had
y'all.
that.
My
Cheers.
glass says America, so
It's better than mine. Mine
yours says
says
Jack
Daniels, which
Yeah.
is good, too. I
You
do
know?
love good Jack Daniels.
Just
I have a...
cross branding.
Yeah, I have a good... I mean, you one-up me, but I have, like, a nice Jack Daniels topper. You have the whole barrel.
You know? Gotta do what you can, you know?
Yeah, man. Well,
we got a really good deal on that, though. That's
Really?
how I got that, yeah. I drove by some place, and they had, like, 4 or 5 of them left.
Yeah,
And they were outside. I guess wherever they were, it was, like, overstocked.
yeah.
And so we straight overstocked that condom, and I was like, "Hey, how much is that?" And they were like, $1.25. I was like, "How about 75?" And they took it,
Heck yeah.
threw it in the back truck.
Negotiation, man.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
you know,
Man, we've done a podcast before, but it's been a while. Your world was a lot different back then.
yeah, I think both of our worlds were a lot
Yeah,
different back
man.
then, Nicky T. Yeah, I was doing RV life back then, and
Which was cool. Like,
yeah.
I think you'll look back on that in the long run and be like, remember that RV we had back in the day?
yeah, I still got it.
Do you?
Yeah, dude, I
Hell
keep
yeah.
all the stuff that like I feel like is gonna have sentimental value later on.
Yeah.
I keep all of it. Like
Maybe
I have my
I'll have
first truck.
You have your first
Still
truck
have my first truck I ever
Dang.
had, like bought, drove, learned how to drive. I still have that one. And my first motorcycle, I still have my first bike.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. So my first RV, I figured I better keep it.
Maybe I'll borrow from it.
Dude, come on, man.
sometimes.
You go
Take
roll
it
up to
to a
the
festival,
KOA.
right? Yeah.
You know? Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, man, first podcast we did was November of 2018.
Crazy.
One of my first podcasts over at Jurgles, and now you were down here in Nashville, which is where you were before, but now I'm down here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So stoked. We talked about coming out here, and you showed me around the place, and I'm glad that it finally worked
It
out.
finally happened, man.
Yeah, man.
And we just made everybody come with cameras and
Yeah.
record, you know? It's like we can make it a whole thing a write-off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Write this off. And
Yeah.
I mean, you got me double fisting, which is totally on brand for
Yeah,
me.
dude, I knew you were coming, so I had to put some Shiner in the fridge.
Yeah, dude,
You
I
know?
love Shiner Bock.
I do
Great
too.
beer.
And it was like, I felt like it took a while for it to catch on for some reason. you
Yeah,
know?
it's good. It's like the Yingling of Texas.
Yeah.
You know?
The country boy Yingling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
But man, so when we talked about that first podcast, we talked about kind of how you were doing things that grassroots way and how that's how you grew up, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you started getting traction.
Yeah.
Man, so with COVID happening, I know you started doing a grassroots thing that's kind of helped you keep momentum going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So obviously I think every label person in town when COVID hit, they wanted all their artists to kind of stay home. And I did. I listened for 45 days.
Yeah.
and then I caught every fish I could catch in my pond and shot every gun I had here. And then I got bored. And lucky for me, my label's owned by Colt, and Colt loves to play.
Right.
So I called, Brad, my manager, and was like, "Hey, I want to go play." And he's like, "What are you gonna do? Like everything's shut down. You can't ride around." He's like, "You've been prissy." He calls me princess. So he's like, "You've been prissy all year riding around in a tour bus with a driver. Like, you can't do that. So you can't play any venues. What are you going to do?" And I was like, "Well, I looked up some of the most strict states and what the regulations were. And they were saying at the time you could still have 10 people at their house." So I was like, "I'm going to go play Backyards." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, how are you going to get there?" I said, "I'll drive my truck." He said, "You're going to drive your own truck to people's houses?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, if you can set it up and like get people to actually want that, I'll organize it all for you and you can go, but I don't think anybody's going to want you to do that." So I got on Facebook, put out a status, and I got 33 dates in 17 states. I only wanted to play Fridays and Saturdays, but I ended up in that first run playing Thursday through Sunday, and got stacked for those 2 months I wanted to go out, 3 months, and then took a break. And during that break, Brad called and was like, "Hey, man, there's a whole bunch more people that want you to come out and play. Are you down to do more dates?" And I was like, "Sure." So I did another status. We booked even more shows, and I mean, dude, by the end of it, we played 87 shows from the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast. Drove it all in my truck. I put 100,000 miles on my truck, and just had a blast out there doing it.
Dude, I think that shows you what live music does to folks, right? Like that's how much during that time when it was the darkest for fans and for people in general, that shows you what that little bit of brightness will do for someone's life, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that, and it was awesome because, like, I'd just done the Brantley Gilbert cruise and stuff, and so there was, like, people that had done that Brantley cruise, and they were like, you know, going to concerts and doing music is our whole life.
Right.
Like, I don't think you think about it as a musician because you're playing the shows, but for some people, like, this was a real wake-up call for me. For some people, like, that's what they work hard for. Like, they work hard for, you know, getting to go to the concerts, buying the tickets, being in the pit, like, living that experience. And when you take that away from them, it hurts them just as much as it hurts us. And it's just real beautiful, man, what music is. And I thought, you know, selfish of me to think that I'm getting all the, you know, joy out of this, when in reality it's a shared joy where somebody in the audience loves it just as much as I do.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the founding of Raised Rowdy. You know what I mean? That's who we are and what our crew of folks is based on, right? We're country music fans. We're people that go to shows, that when you go to your show, you think about what your next show coming up is.
Front row don't go, baby.
That's it, man. We live that fan lifestyle, you know, and so, and I mean, even on your tour, you got to go up and do one at one of our writers, Sarah's house.
Yeah,
you know?
that was so sick too.
Yeah.
Like, and then her son was an absolute boss at cornhole.
Yeah.
And everybody, like, nobody wanted to pick him, which I thought was hilarious in the end because they literally couldn't get us off the boards. Like, it's me and Sarah's son, we were killing them.
Oh man,
you know?
that's
So,
great.
Just a little suggestion if you're ever up there, pick Sarah's son.
Pick Sarah's.
Yeah, dude, he's a beast. Yeah, and he hates to lose, man. Like,
hates to lose.
I was like, hell yeah,
Killer
competitive
mentality.
Spirit, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, I think that it's crazy because it takes you from all the success you were having. You were out on the road with a tour bus and, you know, getting to play bigger venues, and it takes you back to that grassroots where you started, you know?
Yeah, so I told people the whole time, and I hate to tell this story because I feel like it makes me sound ungrateful. So I want to preface it by saying, like, I'm extremely grateful that I got the record deal. I got the records to do well, that I got to a tour bus, that I got to do it. Like, I'm grateful for it. It's
Right.
what every musician, when they think about being a musician, that's what they think.
Yeah.
But I got into music because I love people. Like, I like to hang out with people. I like to enjoy the show just as much as anybody else enjoys a show.
Yep.
So when I was on the bus, although it was great, I'm not allowed to get off of it. There's a schedule panned out for me every day. There's a set 35 people that I can say hi to. When I'm playing on the road with, like, other major artists that are on different booking agencies, you're not allowed to go out in front of the stage while they're on stage, so you can't watch the show because they say it's a distraction to the artist on the stage.
Yeah.
So I can't enjoy beers watching whoever with people. So I got to a place where I was pretty miserable. Like, I didn't get to see, you know, where I wanted, you know, what I wanted to do and see where I was. Like, I remember we were on one run, and Joe, who has been one of my best friends for 11 years,
Right.
he kind of got shifted into a boss position where I'm like, normally he would go and, you know, fuck off with me.
Right.
But I'm like, hey, man, 2 people want me to go fishing. Can I go fishing? And he's like, no, you got sound check at this time. You got this at this time. You're not allowed to go. And it sucked for me because, like, I play music because I want to live life.
Right.
So what this did for me was allowed me to understand what made me fall in love with playing music in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's singing for people, real people, hanging out with them, and that connection. So, I mean, me and Brad talked about it. Every year I'm going to do a Backyards and Bonfires.
Heck yeah.
So, like, COVID, not COVID, I don't care. Like, every single year I'm going to set out a month and a half to go and play at people's backyards.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do it.
And I think, like, that level of fan, someone that brings you into their home,
Dude, yeah.
they're
like,
yours forever.
How like honorable is that? Like, I tell people every time, like, they're like, oh, it's so dope you're here. I'm like, no, it's so dope you're having me here. Like, this is your house, your people, your kids, your family, and you're allowing me to come in, you know, and be a part of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're showing me around their yard. They're telling me, you know, showing me the old cars that their, you know, grandfather helped build and now got passed down to them. They're showing me pictures, you know, of their family and stories of their family. And dude, me as a songwriter, I'm like, I can't get enough of this, you know, like,
Yeah.
please give me all the stories, you know? So it was just an awesome experience. And I mean, COVID was a very, very hard thing for a lot of people, but I'm thankful that it was a great experience for me.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple things you could do, right? You could either sit on your hands and, you know, just do other stuff and not try to, you know, hone your craft, or you could have just like went the songwriting route and just hit songs.
Yeah.
Or you could do what you did, which was go out, make fans that are going to be your fans for life, or make fans that were your fans be even bigger fans,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And connect with your audience in a different way.
Yeah. Now they know me, like I've gotten drunk with these people,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like the show happens. It's like me acoustic with my guitar player,
Right.
Alex, and we play for, you know, an hour and 15 minutes, but then we always hang after, and the hang after is like my favorite, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
And probably their favorite too. Like
Dude,
they
it's
love
so
the
much
show,
fun.
but
Yeah, so much fun.
they're getting FaceTime with someone. Because if you think about a meet and greet, right?
Yeah.
A meet and greet experience, even if it's an extended meet and greet where you have less folks and you're hanging a little,
Yeah.
it's not super organic.
I feel like every artist feels like meet and greet is a little, like, this word kind of sucks, but it's true. It just feels a little icky.
It's
you know?
sterile. Yeah.
It's like, man, this person paid an extra $35 to say hi for 3 minutes and take a picture.
Yeah.
That's like, ugh, you know, like,
Yeah.
And I feel like all of them feel that way. I know Luke was like that for a long time. Luke was like, I don't want to do this. And then, so for a long time, he was like, if you're going to make me do this, 100% of this money is going to charity.
Yeah.
So he did that for a long time. Like, just, and I think all artists feel that way. Most of them, majority. Some don't, you know, but you probably don't talk about them anyway. But, you know, like, you only talk the cool ones.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I feel like all of us kind of have that general consensus. And I feel like it's way more general or personal
Yeah.
to do it that way, to have real conversation, real time, just like that cameo shit, like
Yeah.
where people pay for someone to say happy birthday. I was like, you literally suck the joy out of that, you know, like by charging someone to say happy birthday. It just feels, again, like icky to me, you know.
That brings me to a moment, and something I don't know if I ever told you how much it meant, but that message you sent for me to send to my mom.
Oh man,
Like that literally had my mom in tears when I played it for her. You know what I mean?
awesome.
Like she loves what I'm doing. You know, she loves what I'm building and what I'm trying to build, and how much passion I have for it.
Yeah.
But a moment like that remember I was like, dude, you're my mom's favorite song. Whenever she listens to my radio show, Song About You, she's like, that's the one. That's my favorite song.
I love it, man.
So when you sent that video, my mom was in tears, listening to it, and made me play it for her every time I'm around.
I love that too, man.
So.
I mean, it's important, dude. I told you the first podcast we did when us and the Cadillac 3. I believe in what you're doing for an artist, and I was super stoked when you moved here because, I've been here for 6 years now, and especially what you do for the new artist and like how you are. There's not a lot of safe places to land here if you're a new artist. Like, I feel like everybody, the minute you come in, especially if you're got some heat on you a little bit when you move into town, there's a lot of gunners here that they just they feed off and get paid off kids' dreams, you know? And you're not like that.
No.
And I think the more people we can have that in this town, and that's kind of how Nashville was for a long time. It was so genuine. And then business, like it always does, when you put money in business, it gets things kind of ugly. So,
Yeah.
dude, I'm pumped you're here. Yeah.
Dude, I'm stoked to be here too, and know we've gotten to hang out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, man.
we mentioned Song About You, which is still to this day my mom's favorite song.
Hell yeah.
So let's
I'm
talk
gonna put
about
that shit as like one of my one-liners for, like, you know, when they give us one sheets.
Yeah, Nikki T's mom's favorite song.
Yeah, Nikki T's mom's favorite song. 5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars. Nikki T's
From
mom.
Nikki T's mom.
But man, that song again, I think that was a crazy moment, right? Like the world opened up, and it's kind of your spreading the wings moment, right? In terms of a song like really, really breaking.
Yeah, which was so weird too, because like the timing of it.
Yeah.
Like, it came out in April.
Yeah.
So right after, like, when quarantine was like real heavy and everybody just really, I don't feel like anybody wanted to listen to music at that. I didn't think, but boy, was I wrong.
More than ever. Yeah.
We put it out, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, people are really listening to this thing. And then started hitting some more playlists, and I was like, man, like this is really taking off. And then John Marks, shout out John Marks, he picked it up, put it on Hot Country, Apple, all my favorite people over there picked it up and put it on Today's Country. And then I was like, this is really starting to happen, which was, again, a weird thing for me, because it's like, man, you wait your whole life to get to a place where a song pops off like that, and then you're like, I can't wait till I go play a show.
Yeah.
And there's no shows, like.
Well, you were playing them. You were just playing them to, 35 folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, man, that was a game changer for me, and I'll give credit every time to Taylor Phillips. He wrote the song with Kenton Bryant and Joey Hyde, and
It's a killer trio right there.
hell yeah, dude, you can't write a bad song that day.
Yeah.
And luckily, Taylor, he called me the day they wrote it, and he was like, man, you need to cut this song. This is your song. And that was when I was cutting the Love and Whiskey album.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen because Warner heard the song, and they were like, nope, we're pitching this to some legitimate artists, because like at the time I'm so new. I just signed to Average, and like, the town is like, oh, it's a baby artist.
Yeah.
So I got the song kind of taken away from me because two bands who will go unnamed, they put it on hold. Then both of them lost their record deals. So then when I went back in to cut more songs, Taylor was like, cut this song. So we cut it, and there you go, man. I think I'm not going to say it's going to be my first gold record. And that means so much to me because Taylor was one of my first friends in
one
town.
of your good friends still.
Yeah, like one of my best friends. Like right now, if he called and was like, hey, I'm stuck in a ditch, I'd figure a way to get to him, and vice versa. He'd do the same thing for me. So cool that one of the biggest milestones of my career will be with one of my greatest friends. You know? So
yeah, you're gonna be playing that song at every show.
Yeah, dude, and I love it.
Right, it's a great song.
Yeah,
that's a great song to play at every show.
Thanks. I love it too, because I tell people all the time when like people are like, oh, that's a great song. I'm like, yeah, I know. I can brag on it because I didn't write it. So.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yup.
Yeah. That's it's pretty crazy. Because I remember when I was like, man, send me like what song should I be playing at yours now? Because I have a little radio show. If you're listening to this and you don't already know, I have a show called Raised Rowdy Radio.
It's not little. It's a great freaking show.
It is, but
He's being modest.
We're working on trying to make it bigger. Hopefully in 2021 that happens. Mm-hmm. But I remember when you sent it to me, you're like, you can play this a little early. You're like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, Andrew. And my label people are in here.
Yeah. Got it out there a week earlier too on the radio, and then played it just streaming, right? Yeah.
Luckily, these are my people at the label, so
they're
not going to come down on me too hard.
But man, like again, for me as someone that has a radio show, that was so cool to like be able to get a song that was a little bit before it was even dropped on streaming.
Dude, I sent you this down before. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, and I'm about to send you the next one before. Yeah. You just learn that. Like now, I feel like you're like, okay, I won't do it yet.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Mainly because I think you became homies with Claire too over at the label.
So yeah.
You're like, I won't do it.
Yeah. Well, man, I think it's I just think it's cool to like as a fan of music to get to hear songs first, right? Like that's one of the coolest parts about what I do.
Well, that's the crazy thing too is I value your opinion so much. So. And I'm insecure about every song I put out, like I'm never secure in anything that I do, especially if I'm a writer on it. So the best thing for me is like I appreciate and respect your taste. So I like being able to send it to you so you can tell me like, nah, dog. Plus we have that kind of relationship where you're like, no, or just don't respond. Then I know it's a no, like it's a pass. But so it makes it tough when you have these kind of platforms and stuff because like, if it's great, you're like, well, fuck, I want to play this right now. Yeah. But luckily, we still can bounce stuff off because, man, still to this day, your opinion matters, to me, and that's hard to find in anybody because there's so many people, especially if they're a part of a team, where they don't want to tell you honestly whether it sucks or not. So it's nice to have friends that really have a good ear, and you do, man. You got a great set of ears. So.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And dude, This Town, speaking of that, the new single, which I'm playing on the radio this week, Just did the episode last night. Not the first time I'm playing it. Played it last week as well.
Yeah.
But man, that's another freaking banger.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's been the biggest of my career first week out.
Yeah.
It got 100,000 streams, first week, over 100,000 streams first week, and just crushing. And I'm grateful. And Song About You gave me some really good, momentum. And then the Me and Mine EP did as well.
Yeah.
And so now it's just trying to do what I can to keep the tide rising.
Yeah. Are you guys booking any shows other than?
Yeah.
Nice.
Fortunately, which has been a good problem, I don't get to really push them out.
Yeah.
Because we just sold 2 out in Delaware. I don't play them until late March, and they sold out in a couple days.
That's amazing.
And we didn't even get to talk about it.
Right.
The guy who booked the first show, he called Brad and was like, I want him to come and do one. COVID seating, whatever, limited seating.
Right.
And he was like, I want to put it out. He put it out and it sold out. And then he called Brad and was like, shit, it's gone. Can we do another one?
Yeah.
So then we did that one, and it was only out for a couple days, and that sold out. So it's kind of doing something cool for music right now. And dude, like I said, I love doing this acoustic stuff because I just feel like it doesn't have as much, I don't know, glitter attached to it. It's like you can just hang and have fun.
But there's something about a full band Sam Grow show too, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
Your band's killer. You've been with a lot of the guys for a long time, and it has that more rock and edge to it. You know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, dude. 2 of the members, Gene and Mike, they found me. I tell people all the time, they played music in the 80s. They were all in those 80s hair band.
Yeah.
Rock
Dude, they're great
bands.
players.
Yeah, and they found me. So they were rockers naturally, and then they kind of instilled that in me. I didn't know shit about music,
Yeah.
And Mike would just play me a bunch of stuff, and then of course I started writing with Gene and just hanging with him to understand his path as a writer in music. And those guys, man, what an era to be performers.
Yeah.
It was a good thing to grow up with.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's it's like having 2 uncles that have been there before.
Yeah.
They're
exactly.
there with you on the road.
Except 2 really dope uncles.
Right,
Down to be extremely poor with you.
Yeah.
In a van. We talk about that shit all the time. Me and Mike and Gene especially, we're on the bus, and those guys have been, because I was 16 when I started playing. So it was my mom basically going, see your son, and just trusting me with these 2 older guys to just be my dads out there.
Yeah.
And they were. So the journey that they've seen happen with me, they celebrated, I feel as if a dad would celebrate with a son,
Yeah.
And
They watched you grow as an artist, but also as a man.
Yeah. And they help make me be the person that I am too, man. They influenced me heavily. From 16 to now, those were my guys. But they laugh about that all the time because, then we ended up on the bus, and I'm like, how crazy is this? And, of course, Gene and Mike were we knew it was always going to be here.
Yeah.
We knew this was going to be here. But those are guys that played the weekend with me for no money. And when we did get paid, it was $75, and they were playing 4-hour sets and sleeping in a van with me, riding in 3 separate cars to New York City just so I could play the bitter end, because it's a legendary club for no money. I don't know. If you can't hang with those kind of people and keep them in your life forever, you're just, me and you aren't the same,
Yeah.
So.
Dude, I totally feel that. And I know when we did our first podcast, you said that was one of the things that made you love Average Joe's was you came and said, this is my band.
Yeah.
And this is who I'm keeping in my band.
Yeah.
And they were like, cool. We appreciate that.
Yeah, well, lucky for me, best sales pitch in the world. The whole reason how that happened, small world, is Taylor happened to be, Colt invited me out to play those shows because he heard the Blame.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and did that tour, and one of the stretches that I was on, Taylor was on the bus riding with Colt. And Taylor happened to look at the day sheet and was like, holy shit, this is my best friend. He's playing today? Colt was like, yeah. And Taylor was like, you got to get him on the bus, man. You got to come, you got to talk to him. So Taylor gets me up there, and we talk, and me and Colt, I feel like he's a lot of the things that I want to be and I strive to be, you know, as an artist. And as we were talking, I get off the bus to go get ready for the thing, and Taylor told him the whole story because Colt was like, why doesn't he have a deal? Like, why doesn't he do anything? And so Taylor told him like how I told everybody no when they try to fire my band and like, own a lot of the masters and like do all that stuff. And so after we played the show, Colt, like while we were on stage, Colt came in and watched us play. And then he brought me back on the bus, and literally my record deal happened how it happens in the movies, which that never happens that way ever.
Right.
And he invites me back on the bus, and he's like, "Hey, watch your show. I don't want you to get rid of any of your band. You can have whoever in your band whenever you want in your band. I don't want to change any of it because I have people in my band who've been with me the whole time, so I don't want to change that." He's like, "But yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything to do with different with your music. I want you to be you because." That's the best kind of music you can put out is as long as you're being a reflection of yourself. He's like, and I promise you, I'm not going to change anything. I just want more people to hear your music,
right.
So it happened, and he's like, tell me what you want on a deal, and I told him what I wanted, and I got it, all of it, So it's been an awesome relationship, and I just got a great, scrappy team, and I would put my people up against anybody else in town,
It's crazy too, like thinking back, and I listened back this week to that first podcast we did.
Yeah.
And talking about
just
how
signed the deal.
Yeah, you just signed the deal. And you were like leaking clips of songs, right? Which now, 2 years later, is so commonplace.
Yeah.
Right? That people are doing it on Instagram stories, people are doing it on TikTok. You were doing that before it was like a thing that people that are signed to a label were doing. You were ahead of the game on that.
I think that, again, I'm blessed to be at a place where I have a label that understands that we all aren't shit unless the people who are buying and supporting the music are buying and supporting the music.
Right.
So
Yep.
I got to do what I wanted. Like, I still don't knock artists for not being able to do that because, man, those contracts, bro, are
Right.
insane. Like,
Right.
I'd love to be, like, even your biggest artist right now, like, even if you pull up a Luke Combs contract, I would love for Luke to be able to go, look at this shit.
Yeah.
And like show what he had to sign over to get to where he is now. And good on him for, being willing to do it. Plus he's got Cappy, who's a damn genius, so I'm sure they figured a way to get out of whatever and triple down on whatever they have now. But like,
well, and that's part of Luke's success too, man. He's one of those guys that's known for doing that same thing, right? Yeah. Known for putting songs out and seeing how the fans react to them, you know? And since then, like stuff like TikTok, that's how artists are exploding now, where it was like, there's always a platform that's helping, right? And right now it's like that. But when you were doing it, it was like Instagram was kind of like that platform.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you were coming up right before you got a record deal, if you were playing a song on Instagram, that's where you were getting your traction.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's always something that's coming and something that's next. And it's just using the resources you have and using the talent that you have to get it out there.
I tell people all the time, man, like if I was starting my career today, like if I was day one starting my career in music, unless I was signing, and I'll just say this because two of them are sitting here, it's not like Colt's staring me down right now, but if you aren't signing to a label like Average Joe's, which is a master ownership artist first kind of label, I wouldn't sign a deal. Like the way that things are now, DSPs were something that I saw and were as, a younger artist coming up and going, this is it. Like, I don't want to chase down radio. I want to chase down DSPs.
Right.
And luckily that ended up, I took a bet and luckily the bet worked, but now everybody knows. Like, DSPs are where it's at. That's how kids find music. Like, my daughter who is, about to be 13, if I told her today I had a number one song at radio, she'd be like, well, how many streams does it have on Spotify? It doesn't mean anything.
The world's changing.
Yeah, it's completely shift, dude.
Yep.
And so I don't know. It's awesome where it is as an artist now. The possibility is so much greater before than what it was. Before it was like you have to get in with these gatekeepers.
Yeah.
You have to do this. And now with social media and DSPs, like $10.99, bro. You can upload your song and you can get a bunch of people to hear it.
Dude, and that's it. It lets the ground be evened out a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So and even for a label that's a smaller label, it gives them the ability to fight the big dogs very well.
Yeah, dude, I mean, a lot of them, like, we have a lot of friends at Big Loud, and like that label, when they first started in town, people thought they were like a joke, you know?
Yeah.
And they were also, you know, forward minded on the DSP stuff too. And look at them now. You know? They're the biggest label in my opinion, you know, like
If you
talking
say
major
someone
labels,
has more smoke right now, like no one has more smoke than them
exactly,
right now.
dude. Exactly. Yeah. And they're scrappy, you know, and you know, I love everybody over Big Loud, but Average Joe's coming for you.
Yeah. Dude, that's what it's about though. Like it's about taking things the way they're done and being mindful of that, but then flipping it on its side and looking at how you can work around it to get to where you're going faster.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's cool to see, you know, partner labels like you were talking about, you know, like guys that are there and they're about the music. They're about, you know, that part of it.
Yeah.
It's cool to see the success that labels like that are having.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see the success that artists are having with labels like that.
I would say too, and I would argue to say that I think that why Average is doing as well as it's doing, why Big Loud is doing as well as doing, why Smack is doing as well as it's doing, is because those are artist-based labels.
Yeah.
You know, like they understand the writing side and the artist side of the whole business. So they're forward thinkers. They're not the big, you know, old school suit that doesn't know shit about music, just keeps like throwing, you know, betting on black or red on the table and seeing what happens, you know.
Yeah.
Like these are actual artists that actually write songs that actually, you know. So I think that's why they just have more, you know, fire attached to them right now.
Yeah. And they're flexible, right? Because as an artist, you're constantly changing the kind of music that you're writing. You're constantly changing the kind of product that you're putting out there. If you have that kind of mindset in everything, it's going to work better. Yeah. You know?
100%. And they're about the people, man. Put the
That's
people
exactly
first,
it.
everything's fine.
Yeah. And why would you want to leave?
Exactly.
If you have a team and a family, a team that's like a family, and the family is treating you right, why would you want to leave?
Exactly. I mean, dude, there's people at my label that have been there since day one. My VP's been there for the entire stretch. You show me any other, you know, old school label in town right now where the VP's been the same the entire time.
Yeah.
Not going to find it.
Right.
You know, like, just not going to find it.
Yeah, it's less about shareholders and more about the music.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many people shit on the stream game forever and like payouts. And I want the payouts to be better for a songwriter on streaming, but even like artists, they're like, you know, well, and labels, they're like, well, we can't make any money off that. But man, I mean, there's a lot of artists that prove that.
Look at Jelly Roll right now.
Fuck, dude, that's my guy, man.
Come on.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Look at what he's doing.
Those are the people that I watch more so than even my peers, because I feel like if I stay within my own genre and walls, a lot of my artists in my category are still controlled by the old, you know, horse and carriage way of Nashville. So they haven't like moved on, you know, past what it is now. So Jelly, I've known Jelly since we had the same publishing deal when I first moved to town. Like we were on the same publishing company. Yeah. And like watching him literally do it all with no one.
Kingpin, dude.
Yeah,
like
dude,
he's doing it.
Yeah, 1.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone by himself. No playlisting, no nothing. That's real grind, real music, real followers.
Multiple albums every year, right? Like
and tons of music, man.
Tons of music. Yeah. Every YouTube video has 1 million freaking streams.
Yeah, dude,
like
boss.
He built a following
Jelly,
of people.
You need to have you done an interview with Jelly?
No, I haven't. I've never met Jelly, but I'm a fan.
Oh, yeah. That's my boy. I'll make that happen.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Jelly, come to the house. We'll drink. I'll even get you tequila.
Yeah.
And y'all sit down on this couch. We'll do another podcast.
You have to co-host it with me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I got so many questions for Jelly.
Yeah.
I'll bring a notebook like you.
Yeah.
I'll be like stealing shit.
Yeah. But man, it's like we're talking about. It's just the game is changing, right? The industry is changing. The things that artists are doing to make it work is changing, and it's cool to see someone that having success in that world, right?
Yeah. Keep going, sorry.
Oh, no, we're good. We can clip it.
I'm just making sure it didn't fall asleep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sheep rolling.
Yeah, that's the great part about
Unedited,
the podcast.
baby.
Yeah, but that's a great part about the podcast. You can take a little thing out.
Yeah.
You know? But man, it's cool to see. Like we said, like the game is changing. The world is changing of country music, and a guy like Jelly Roll who lives in a genre that is more open to things easier, right? Like they were on SoundCloud when that was a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they were on streaming before country was, right? Like they realized that radio wasn't the move.
Yeah.
So using someone like that as a benchmark for current country, right? Being a little bit after that because the genre moves slightly slower, is like it's a great move, man.
Yeah, dude, I chase them and I chase pop artists. Like what they're doing in their moves
Yes.
is what I chase as an artist. And lucky for me, I have a label and a label owner that does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yep.
like it helps me to be a part of a team that is forward thinking, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think for a long time it was just everybody was a slave to radio, you know, like $1.2 million to spend on a number one song and maybe you'd sell 200,000 units. That's a terrible investment. And then that's one single. So then if it doesn't pop off or go number one to sell 200,000 units, you're way behind on recoupment. Like so many artists are just never going to pay this money back.
Yeah.
You know? And that sucks.
And that's the thing. Like just because you have a song that's on the radio doesn't mean you're selling tickets when you're at a venue, right? We have folks in the room that work on both sides of the business, right? Like that is a totally different thing. Fans in seats are real fans.
Yeah. Look at Jelly Roll.
Yeah,
He
man.
ain't never been on radio. You go to any of his shows, I
Sold out.
guarantee you it's 1,500 cap and they're all sold out.
Dude, that's how I first found out about Jelly Roll. He played Pittsburgh and the venue sold it out in like an hour and a half. And I was like, who is this guy?
God, dude. And it's everywhere.
And then I was like, oh, here it
Even
is.
Tech sold out Red Rocks, bro.
Yeah.
You're talking
nuts.
two guys, Red Rocks. That's a lot of damn seats.
Yeah.
No radio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy to see that, but like, I mean, there's still value in radio, in my opinion. There are a segment of fans that listen to radio, right? The key is getting them from radio and taking them to streaming,
Yeah.
right? So if you catch someone on radio with a song, then you get them to your show or you get them to streaming. But if
Yeah.
you can get them already at your show or streaming before, then you don't need the radio.
I think what everybody used to love about the radio, and full disclosure, my manager was in radio for 27 years before he quit radio and became my manager. But he was the big boss at all the stations, majority that he was at, and he was still able to do music discovery.
Yeah.
And kudos to Y108. They like you because you're music discovery.
Yeah.
People probably give a shit about the show because it's music discovery. And what happened in radio is they took that away.
Yeah.
You know, they made it more about, well, what are you going to give me to get this, you know, number
Yeah.
one? And I feel sad because if anybody woke up tomorrow and was like, you can't play music anymore, I would be heartbroken. And I know there's a lot of DJs out there that all they ever wanted to do was be a radio DJ.
Right.
But so I don't ever want to cast the blame on them. What's happening to them sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that a lot of them make the move like you already did first, which is like, I can still chase down music. I can still do this. But, I mean, because look at Ty Bentley. Like, Ty left after however many years at iHeart, was like, peace out. I'm going to Apple Music. I'm going to do Apple Radio.
Dude, there's the cool thing about Apple Radio is that you can listen to like Ward from Whiskey Jam.
Yeah, I love Ward too.
You can listen to that episode a year and a half later.
Yep.
Because it's on a DSP and you have the rights to it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Where like my show, you got to catch it from 9 to midnight on Sunday
gone.
nights on Y108. Right. Yeah. Or it's gone.
Yep.
And I don't know all of those details until I had a radio show and they were like, no, you can't put this online because here's the mechanical licensing you'd have to pay, which I still don't even know what it means, honestly. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a totally different beast, right? When you already have those rights on a streaming platform, you have that built in, you know?
And so our whole thing at the label right now is creating a series, I need to be a Netflix special. People, how the mindset is now is like when people find out about a show and they go and catch the first episode, they don't want to wait 2 weeks for the next episode to come out.
Right.
They like being able to consume the entire story in one thing to then become a real passionate person about that story.
Right.
So I think what happens now with our mindset is radio shows, it's like you're saying, if you don't catch it at that Wednesday between 9 and 2, it's gone. So people's mindset now is like, well, shit, if I can't ever catch episode 1, why the hell do I want to catch episode 34? I'm way behind. Like, I can't go back. And that's not how we're programmed now, because we got Netflix where we can sit, like someone's like, yo, go watch Game of Thrones. I can sit down and put on my TV and I can watch all of it, you know, or Yellowstone. Yellowstone needs to come out way faster than they are saying. Have you ever seen that?
Dude, I haven't.
Oh, bro.
I need to.
Get the popcorn.
Yeah.
You're going to be sitting there the whole time. And then at the end, you're going to be like, shit, when does the next season come out?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's why I don't, because my life, you know, with the day job, I don't have a lot of time for TV. So if I get stuck, if I get stuck on a good,
Nicky T's hustling.
Yeah,
I can't watch
I'll get there. I'll get there eventually.
Can't watch you.
But man, it's like we said, it's the game is changing, and country sometimes is slow to that, but they're figuring it out right now, man.
Yeah, I think the
world, and specifically like when touring went away, and that's the primary source of income for so many folks, right? Not just artists.
Yeah.
All the guys behind the scenes, the people that are putting the stage together, you know, the bus driver that was driving you around, you know?
Yeah. And you know what else is it showing too is it's showing what kind of artist the artist was.
Yeah.
Like what quarantine did and COVID did for a viewer of someone that they love.
Yeah.
It really showed whether they genuinely love doing what they do or they did it because they were chasing eyeballs, glitter, and fame.
Right.
Like the ones that are just like chilling on their house and not doing shit now, like they probably weren't in it to.
Yeah.
Because the real ones, they're making music twice as hard right now.
I think it's going to thin the herd, right? Yeah. It's going to thin
Thank Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, in my head, that's the thing too, right? So we get, as what I do, which is kind of like a curator, right? Like I always say I'm like A&R but direct to fans. You know what I mean?
For the people, bro.
Yeah, I'm A&R for the people, you know? But I get a lot of music that crosses my desk, but every song that I hear lets me know that the song that I hear that stands out is better, right? So like there's value in listening to things that you don't love or things that end up not being something that piques your interest, right? Because that's when you realize how special the thing that is special is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, again, this has allowed me to do as a person is I have a lot of folks sending me content to consume. And me consuming that, like I could have told you pop punk was coming back in country like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you hear it in what the artists are doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? You hear it in people that don't have record deals, or you hear it in demos, you know? And if you would, I could have told you that. Like, I was like,
we're the product of it right now.
Yeah.
Like kids
it's back.
Kids that were kids being emo, listening to the emo bands.
Yeah.
We're now current now. So that's why you hear it a lot more.
Well,
you know?
And as you get older, country music, usually in my head, country music makes more sense as you get older, right? So when you're 15, sometimes I don't know if when I was 15, I didn't know if country was cool, right? Yeah. But now 15-year-olds are a little bit different because country is cool.
Yeah.
But back then I was listening to grunge music, you know? I was listening to Soundgarden. I was listening to Alice in Chains.
Well, I think we all had like a weird scattered listening thing.
Pattern. Yeah.
I mean, my country, like I listened to a bunch of it, but like Brooks and Dunn was my jam, mainly because a lot of people thought they were like on the outskirts of, which I think is hilarious because I think Ronnie Dunn has like one of the most genuine, amazing country voices in the game. But back then they were like, oh, getting a little too polished.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? You know, you listen to it now and you're like, shit. You know, like, well, if that was too polished, what is this? You know?
It's crazy to think how when something's happening, it can be so far off of what you consider that genre to be. And then in 10 years, that's who everyone says with their influence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it changes the genre. They said the same thing about Garth Brooks, man. They said Garth wasn't country, you know, like
hilarious.
His songs. And now if you talk about what country music is, Garth was it.
Those are the comments, bro.
Yeah,
if it ain't Garth, this ain't how Garth would do it, bro. You know?
The crazy thing for me is no one says Eric Church isn't country, but he's rock and roll a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy for me too, and I say this, I love rock and roll. That's another one of the musics that I absolutely love, but no one really yells about country music being too rock, but they complain if it lives in a little bit of any other genre, right?
Yeah, you know why though, too? I think it's like your bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd that you can't argue.
Yeah.
That dance the line of extremely country lyric, but still very rock and roll.
Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I feel like it's because those kids' dads would probably whip their ass if, you know, they talk trash. You know, but even Church is like big, like Springsteen, like, you know. Like, that's his shit. And I love Kip Moore. Kip Moore catches a lot of shit sometimes, too.
But he's very rock influenced.
Yeah.
But some people complain about that, but it's not nearly as much as like any other kind of like go around. Like,
I see it in the YouTube content.
But
you ain't country, man. Look at this poser.
In my head, it's like this, man. I think there's room in it for everything, right? If you talk about the things that I love in country music, there's some lines, right? Yeah. But if something's great, it's great.
Yeah.
You know? Who am I to say that something's not right?
Think about how many bands would be missed if people were like so narrow-minded. Like, I wouldn't know who you were if we both didn't love the Cadillac 3 enough for you to come to the show and be begging for an opening slot.
Right.
You know, like, I stayed on tour with them that year. Yeah. And it's because I love that music, you know. And if I was so narrow-minded to go, well, if it ain't Brooks and Dunn or if it isn't this, then screw it, I'm not going to listen to it. And that's like kids getting on there and commenting and shit, man. Sometimes it's so crazy to me. It's like, if you don't like what you're hearing, there's a skip button.
Yeah.
Skip it.
It's so easy now to go to the next song.
Yeah, and I hate it because there's an artist out there right now that is making music, and because the first 100 people that he or she played their music for got shitty comments, they quit being an artist. How fucked up is that? Like, because we live in a world where they can quickly comment on something and talk shit on it. It will discourage an actual, like, imagine if Garth Brooks or Eric Church, who got kicked off of a Rascal Flatts tour because he took too long or whatever, imagine if they quit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Brooks and Dunn and, Ronnie and Kicks, 34 and 36 when they started playing music. They'd gotten kicked in the teeth a million times before they got to that point. Imagine if they quit, you know? Brett Young, Sam Hunt. Like, say what you will about those guys. I love their music, but some
crazy talented songwriters.
40 years old, Old Dominion. They got kicked. Dude, I played shows with them when there was 100 kids there, and they were in their mid-30s, where most people would, like, cut them off just on age, you know? Like, they kept going, and thank God they did, because think of all the music we would have missed. And I think that if the faster we can try to curve, like, shit talking and stereotypes, the better the music genre will be.
Yeah.
You know? Because I don't ever want Bonnie Raitt to ever stop making music, but she stopped because people said she was too old to make it.
Yeah.
You know, which sucks.
For me, and that's kind of one of the things that Raised Rowdy as a platform embraces, is if it's something that I don't like, I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude,
There's so much that I do like that why would I spend my time telling you what sucks when I could talk about music that I love?
Dude, and God bless you for that, because there's so many other blogs that don't follow that. They love the trend of hating on an artist, and that stuff bothers the shit out of me. If you aren't my kind of music, fine, but I'm not going to shit talk you about it, because there's somebody somewhere that one of your songs could affect and change one person.
Yeah.
And that was your purpose, was to put out that one song that changed one person. And if I'm the guy that screwed up that path to save that one person, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
You know? And there's so many blogs that love jumping on that shit to talk trash on an artist or creators, but none of those guys are musically inclined. Like, none of them. Like, you put one of those bloggers in front of this studio right now and tell them to play 3 chords and write a song, they couldn't do it at all. So I don't feel like you have any room to say shit.
Well,
you know?
And that's it, man. I myself am not musically inclined, and that's another thing. Like, who am I to say? And dude, I miss the boat sometimes on stuff that I'm like, I don't get this. You know, And that's why I have a platform where I have other people that love country music and love music in general that I give the power to talk about the things they love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And even if I don't get it necessarily, I don't have to.
Yeah.
If they get it and I trust their knowledge and I trust what they like and, you know, the things that they're into, that's what I can give. I can give a platform to help.
I mean, dude, easily when I put out that first EP that I was touring with Cadillac, I was green as shit. Like I made
But
that
it was
record.
good.
I made that record in my house, gutted out the house at the time, turned it into a studio, and made that record in my house. Like instead of like you embrace the fact that I was ballsy enough to gut a house and make a record, not all polished, not all, you know, music
doesn't
row.
have to be.
But imagine if you came to me when I put that record out, you were like, bro, this is trash. Like, it's not pro enough to even be in the game right now. Like, if those opinions, I think people don't understand. Like, everybody wants an artist to be like a person, but nobody wants an artist to act like a person.
Yeah.
And that's screwed up, you know? Like, we're people.
You're not a machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have bad days.
Yeah, and we're emotional people already. That's why we
Right.
write songs. Like,
Yep.
you know, if I was some cold hard some bitch, I'm not, you know, I can't come from a real emotion because I don't have any.
Right.
You know, so like we're already emotional people. So I don't know. I appreciate platforms like you where, because I see a lot of kids like, dude, Matt Roy, like you were talking about Matt Roy shit, who I love personally because I knew him when he was 17, 18 years old, riding with me and Taylor.
Great writer.
So amazing rider, but young, and he was blossoming into a rider. You supported him as he was blossoming before he had the #1 song, before he had all this other, like that stuff is so important, man, because at him, he was so influenced, so heavily influenced that if somebody was like, this is garbage, we wouldn't have those #1 songs,
Well,
you know?
and the key is like, there's things that you can tell when someone has something, right? You might not even know what it is, right?
Yeah.
It could be a voice. It could be a line or two in a song, you know? But you can tell when someone has something special.
Yeah.
Even if it's broken down. Look at a guy like Zach Bryan, right?
Yeah. Dude, I love him, man.
So fantastic, right? And like, but
Raw
his
as shit.
music was so raw, like recorded on a camera phone, basically.
Yeah.
And then with like a audio interface with buddies that didn't know what was going on, you know?
Yeah.
So like a guy like that basically sets himself up, but when you hear the lyrics, you know it's special.
Yep.
Right?
And how he talks to people too, like his people is amazing. you
Yeah.
know? Like those are the real kind of artists that if they got discouraged, it would have screwed them up.
Yeah, it's great to see so many different folks have the ability to succeed, and it's really great to see an artist like you who, like you said, you know, played kind of like that raw, like almost southern rocky country, and really hone in on who you are as an artist, who you are as a songwriter, and what your sound is.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I appreciate it, Doc. I wouldn't be here without awesome people in my corner like you. So I'm pumped, and I'm so excited about the things you have coming up too. And like you're a real champion for new artists, and I think that that's such an important thing because there's so many that get kicked in the face. Like I was one of them, but luckily for me, I grew up playing in bars, man. Like so I had a different path, and I had an Eric Church path or a Ronnie Dunn path where if you sucked, the guy in the bar would tell you suck, and you have to still play through the rest of that show while that guy tells you suck. So like I have a thick skin, so when they talk shit on me, I really don't care. But there's not a lot of kids that are like that, you know? So
it's the ones that are like that though that persevere and that end up being successful. Because what that does for you is it makes you want it even more.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, dude, we talked about him, but like think about Jelly. If you listen to all those mean ass comments and his shit, like, God, so much music, and his music for real saves lives. Like,
Yeah.
And I tell him that all the time. Like, he's such a good freaking dude, and he's just champion for other artists. And he doesn't, even if he doesn't fuck with your music, like he still champions you to create. You know, and like, I just love that about him. More people could learn a lot more from people like you and Jelly.
Yeah. Well, man, let's tell people, you have anything else coming out soon? So I
do.
know we just dropped. Let's talk about that.
When this podcast is over, I'm gonna play it for you too.
Yes, let's go.
So I'm on the, again, I'm blessed to be on the tip of having a label that wants to, be innovative and be on the edge. I want to put out music every 8 weeks. That's how I want to do it this year.
Let's go.
So I am doing it that way.
Yes.
And so I'm going in the studio tomorrow, cutting another 4, and I'm just gonna put out music every 8 weeks.
That's
A new
amazing.
single's coming out. So that's what we're doing. We're just gonna chase that down, and I'm pumped. I'm gonna be more like you saw the This Town video. It's not really a music video. It's more personal, more of a storytelling thing, and that's what I want to be now, is more of a vulnerable place as an artist and tell those real stories, even in the videos. And this next song we're doing, like, we have a dope video concept for. I just want to humanize music, man, because it is humanized, and I think with all the shit talking that happens now with country music and all that kind of stuff, it's dehumanized kind of the stuff. So I want to try to do more of that.
Man, that's great to hear. I'm stoked to get new music from you consistently like that.
I'm so pumped after we're done. I'm going to play this song. Because this is the one I've been trying to play you forever, but Forrest is always like, no.
Yeah. Well, I promise not to play it on the radio until you tell me I can.
Yeah.
But, man, thanks so much for sitting down and having me at this amazing spot here.
Dude, do more here, man.
Yeah, it's
I'll set this shit up anytime you want.
Dude,
Let's
come
do
on.
it. Hey, if this gets on Nikki T's YouTube, be sure to comment in the comments you want to see more of this, because I want to see more of this. So if you agree with me, comment in the comments so we can do some more videography and more like real moments with artists, because this is what I learned from as an artist. And dude, I want to tell you this too, because I think it's important. When a person does this kind of platform, they think that their main platform is, and listener base is, like, the people who fan of the music, like they listen to the music. But you have like a huge separate group of artists that really like to pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah. And it's important to us as artists to have a platform like that where we can go and learn from other writers and other artists and consume it. So if you're an artist out there, make sure you comment. Then you can show up here in my house. Yeah. Screw it. I'll serve you whiskey. I don't care.
Yeah. You got enough of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a lot. Help me drink it, please.
Yeah. Man, like I said, thanks so much for jumping back on. I've only had a few people back on. It was you, Hannah Dasher, Ray Fulcher, and Ryan Nelson.
Man,
so
what a damn group.
that's a crew. That's the Raised Rowdy
honorary
crew,
man.
That's the Raised Rowdy crew
yeah.
right there, man.
Hell yeah.
So thank you so much for
thank you, homie,
for doing this. I appreciate it. And
absolutely.
let's finish drinking this whiskey.
Yeah, we're gonna drink more whiskey.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast and watching it this time. And we'll see you guys soon, hopefully at a show, Sam Grow show.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll have to be in Delaware.
Maybe it's going to be at your house next to the murder mattress. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm down for that. But I'm Nikki T, and we'll see you in the front row.
Peace.